Hi guys, I'm back. So this is going to be part two. And we're going to be finishing up this wire wrapped cabochon. So in the previous video, we had made the frame and did the first weave. And so I made the second weave, and off camera, I just bent it just to make sure it was the length I wanted. So I bent it to make sure it's going to fit. And I want to attach this underneath this wire here. So, and I broke the wire again. I was twisting. I'm going to cut off, first off, I'm going to cut off this wire right here because I don't need that. And I am just going to bend that in up against my wraps, and I'm going to do the same thing here, and I'm just going to come down between just to make sure I'm coming out from in between some of the wires, and I'm going to cut that off and just tuck that little bit of an end in right there. Now these two wires I can use to attach to the side of the frame here. And if you don't have wires broken like I have, you can just take a piece of wire, and I will show you how to do that on another one. Because one of the things I did do without breaking the wire is I made my 2x5 weave, and I'm going to make another one of these and show you how to do that here in a minute. But I wanted to get this at least attached to the bottom. So there's a little space right here. I'm going to take my 3 wires, and I am just going to push this in. And if you have to get it all the way in, you can kind of lift up on this wire, because I do want it to rest right over this base wire. So I kind of want it tucked in. Oops, I'm going to drop it. I want it tucked in right in that spot. So I'm going to take my 3 wires and make sure they're exactly where I need them to be. And I am going to push these in, and see, that's why it wasn't under. There we go. And I'm going to push it in until it's down where I want it to be. And then I am going to just, and again, I'm not worried about the perfectness of the shape. I just want to get this attached to my base wire. So now that I'm here, I'm going to hold on to this wire because this is where I need it to be. I don't need this much wire, so I'm going to cut off just a little bit. And now you can do this all at the same time, or you can do this one at a time. But I'm going to take them and I'm going to fold them over. And then I think because of the fact that there's not a whole lot of room there, I think I'm going to do it one at a time and just turn them in and just do one at a time back through and just secure it one at a time to the frame, just so it is secure. And as you can tell, I'm going and trying to keep them side by side. So I've done that, the second one there. And I'm just going to try to pull that tighter here. And I'm going to do that to the third one. Now, I have not put the cabochon in yet, because again, I wanted to get these two items situated in there, and I'm just tucking. I'm using, manipulating it as best I can, and trying to get leverage onto the wires here. And I'm just pulling these as tight as I can pull them. So there's 1, there's 2, and there's 3. Now try to make them neat, because again, even though nobody's going to see it on the back side, you don't want it super messy back there. All right, and so now I've gone all the way around once, and they're fairly neat. I'm just going to tighten those up just a little bit by squeezing on them. And then I don't need all of that, so I'm just going to trim down just enough that I can then take all 3 and turn them and tuck them back in around my frame so that there's no ends sticking out. So just like that. And you're going to want to squeeze them pretty good because you don't want them sticking too far up into your frame, because that will throw your cabochon off when you put it in. So just make sure, put your cabochon in, make sure it's still going to set centered in your frame, which this will. And then now for this, I don't want this in front of this wire. I want it to come behind. And so I am going to take this and I am going to stick it behind. And yes, I know I'm bending the wires. So I'm going to stick it behind my swirl there. And don't worry, we'll be straightening up the wires and neatening everything up here. And now I've got it in there. I'm just going to adjust my shape so that it is nice and round, and I have the perfect oval shape that I want. And so I think that's going to look good. And my cabochon's going to be in there. Now notice the cabochon is still not going to be, it's still loose. It's not going anywhere. Or I should say it's still going places. This is just the first part. That's what this twist that I was working on is for, because that is going to set just inside and wrap around the edge. And I think I'm going to wrap around this side and maybe do a coil or take these and do swirls on the outside with it. So, all right. So with that being said, I'm not going to attach this just yet because I don't know exactly what I want to do with the wires. So it's behind there where I need it to be. Now to take these wires, I'm just going to wrap them, and you can use your fingers or you can use pliers. It just depends on how much space you have, and I don't have a ton of space there, so I can adjust this if I need to. And I'm just going to stick my wire through, and I'm going to do a couple wraps. So this is going to secure this to the frame, so this weave isn't going anywhere. So that's 3. I think I'm going to do a 4th one there. And then I'm going to take this side and I'm going to do the same thing. And so I filmed the first half last night. And then I was debating whether I was going to film this half today or not. But because we had tornadoes last night, and literally one came down about 3 miles from my house. Took out a small local airport, destroyed a completely destroyed the hangar, completely destroyed some planes, took out a house. It was one of several here in Ohio last night, or I should say early this morning. I was rudely woken up at 4:30 this morning. All right, so now I'm just going to neaten those up. And as you can see, squeezing them like that neatens them up. And then again, I'm just going to trim, leaving a little bit of an edge so that I can then take them and make sure they're tucked back in and around the frame so that they're not sticking out. And then I'm just going to neaten that back up again. And so there's side one. And I'm going to do that with the other side. And yes, I know it's falling out, but that's fine. We're going to put this weave on, and then I will show you the second. I'll show you how to weave that in a second. And I know I've done that in other videos. So this one, because I took the cabochon out, I'm able to just use my fingers and wrap it. I do like the pliers just because it makes it easier to pull tight. That's 2. That's 3. I'm going to go on this side and do this one. And we'll do 1. So yes, so this morning at 4:30, getting 5 bunnies and carriers and taking them to the basement. That's 2. That's 3. And that probably should have been a little bit looser, so I'm just loosening that up a little bit. So that's 2, 3, and I'm going to go 1 more on each of these just to make sure they have plenty of bite. And there's 4 on that side. We'll do 4 on this side. And kind of neaten those up again. These, because they're already on the inside, I think I'm just going to trim them down low there. And then just tuck them and make sure there's no, so I'm rubbing my fingers over that, making sure there's no rough edges. And I'm just trying to pull my weaves down because I see a spot there that my weaves kind of got a little distorted. So I'm just kind of adjusting that. All right, so now we've got that. And I've got my nice rounded shape. I'm going to put my cabochon in, and I am going to attach this, I do believe, to the, I'm just going to attach it to the bail. So I'm going to stick it through and attach it here to the bail. Trying not to twist my wires. So try not to do what I just did there where the wires got twisted around each other. Try to keep them even. It makes for a nicer, and I'm going to take that out for the moment. It makes for a nicer wrap if you can keep them all together. So when you're doing that, as you can see there, when I go to wrap it around a second time, it will be a little bit nicer. Now, in order for me to get this, I'm going to have to come up underneath my twist here. And I'm going to have to pull and then just, again, these are long enough I can use my hands. And as you can see, by doing that and twisting around, it makes it nice and neat and even there. So that looks very nice and neat to the frame. I'm just going to squeeze these down a little bit and make sure they're nice and tight. And again, they've gotten a little wonky. Don't worry, we're going to straighten those out. And I think we're going to do some spirals here with them. But I want to attach this wire first. So I'm going to cut this off, and I'm going to do a quick one just to show you how to do these. And I did this on square wire. So I'm going to I have a piece of square wire here, so it really doesn't matter. I just took some scraps that I had and made a nice long one. But to make the 2-5 weave, you're going to start by wrapping around a base wire 5 times. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And now this goes really quick, and it's the same on both sides, so it doesn't matter what your front is and what your back is. Now you're going to pick up your second wire, and this can be round or it can be square. This is 20 gauge square, but you can use 20 gauge round. And I'm going to wrap around both twice. That's it. Now I'm going to go back in between wires 1 and 2 there, making sure my weaves are nice and neat, and I'm going to do that 5 times. So that's 2, 3, 4, and 5. And so there is your beginnings of your weave. I'm going to zoom down a little bit here just so you can see really good what I'm doing. So there's my 2-5. So now I'm going to wrap around the base wires twice. And then I am going to go through my 2 wires, and there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And so now I've got my second set. Now I'm going to squish down, and then I'm going to tamp down just to make it sit right up against that square wire. And that's one of the reasons why I like using square wire, is because you can make these really, really perfectly nice and neat up against each other. And so I'm going to do this for a little bit because I am probably going to use this in my design. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 1, 2. And you can get going pretty quickly on this if you get into a pattern. And if you notice when I'm doing it, I am pulling and making sure they're nice and tight against the wires, which is probably why I break wire a lot. But I like my weaves nice and tight. So there's 5. And I'm going to squish and then flatten. And so you can continue doing that. I don't know if I'm going to need this piece, so I'm going to do just a couple more wraps with you on camera, and then I am going to set this aside, and if I need it, we'll finish it 4 and 5. And so I'll always, you know, you start with 5 on the base wire, end with 5 on the base wire whenever you're doing it. 1, it's more secure. All right, so I need to put my stone in and make sure this is going to be locked in. And so what I want to do is I want to attach this wire in between. I'm going to attach this to my frame again, and making sure you have it the way you want it. So if you want these points facing inward, You're going to want to have it this way if you want the points facing outward. You're going to want to have it that way. I think I want the points facing outward. So I am just going to bend this around my frame and do my wraps here. And I'm just going to leave those 2 square wires there for now. And I'm going to turn this and I'm going to follow along the frame, I'm going to follow along there, and I want this more rounded. So I am going to adjust my curve with a pair of pliers. So I'm just going to pull it and try to make it more curved here. And if necessary, just manipulate it as best you can, because I do want this rounded to follow along with the S curve that's there. But instead of curving that way, I think what I'm going to do is, and I need to keep it flat, is I want to curve and I want to put a loop right here. And again, when you're trying to do a loop with a weave, you need to make sure your weave stays flat. And so I'm going to loop it right there, which is going to get wired down so that we're going to attach it at points so that will hold in my cabochon. And then I think I'm going to come around here like this. And then this is going to get set underneath here. So we're going to literally lock in the cabochon like that. So before I lock everything in and do that, I'm going to do this and get my curves set. And that's going to need to go down below. So it needs to go through there. There we go. All right. So again, I'm doing organic. It's not exactly the way I had planned originally, but I think I like this because now I have this really unique looking swirl that will get locked in, and it will lock in my cabochon. I'm going to attach it to the frame there. And I'm just going to set these wires aside because I'm not locking them in just yet. I am going to need to take my nylon pliers and straighten out these wires because we are going to be doing some spirals with these around. And again, I'm just trying to tighten up this spiral here and get that locked into place. So I need to attach this to the frame somewhere. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some scrap wire and I am going to find a good spot where I can attach it to the frame. So I'm just going to go in and I'm going to find a spot that will allow me to stick wires maybe in between a weave, like there. So there's, that did not go in between the weave, did it? No. And so I'm just trying to find a little spot. And sometimes you might need to take a needle. If you can't get a spot with the wire, take a needle and make a little hole. Kind of wiggle the needle through until you can get through between the wires. And if you can't, there should be a spot somewhere, especially in the curves. There's a hole right there. All right, so then we can do that to there. And so I'm just going to stick my wire through and it's coming through the back there. And then I am just going to go around, and again, you don't need very much, just a small piece like this. I'm going to go in between my two square wires if it's not too tight, which that may be too tight. I may have done myself a disservice doing that. Trying not to break the needle. And if necessary, you can go around both. So I did that. I went around both of them. And I'm going around the frame. And trying to come back up through the same hole that I went through the first time. And it's very tricky to see, trying to get it back into that hole. And maybe we go from this side up through. So if you can't get it from one direction, so like I couldn't go back up through from the one side, I'm going to take my wire, and sorry about hitting the camera, guys, and I'm going to stick it through, if I can get it through. And see, that piece of wire is too small. All right, so we're going to go with this one because this one's a little bit longer. And I am actually going to come up, seeing that I couldn't get through my weave, and I'm coming around the weave. I am going to come up, and I'm only going to lock this down maybe like once, maybe twice. So I'm sticking my wire back through that. And that didn't work. Where'd that go? That missed entirely. So I'm just having a hard time seeing here just because it's... Usually I have... All right, I'm going to grab some glasses, guys. Hang on a second. So I have all of these special magnifying glasses that I can see. I just can't see the hole to get it in. So, again, my 400 power, and I can see the hole right there. And there should be room for at least 2 wraps. There we go. Now I can see the hole. The problem is this wire is so thin. It doesn't want to... It's a very tiny hole, so that's why, because Well, maybe we go through the next hole. So if you can't get it through the same hole, there is a hole. There should be a hole on the other side of it. Let me do it this way because I can see a hole there. Yes, I can see the holes. I just can't get the wire through. And so I may be attaching, because I can't get it through that, new plan of action. We are going to attach it just to the frame. Because I'm not going to fight with it here. All right, we're going to go this way. So if you can't do it in one spot, you can do it in another. I actually don't necessarily need to secure this. You know what? We're going to do it not secured. I'm going to secure it to the frame here. And then we will we'll do something to make sure it's secure. And I'll show you what that is. All right, so I don't need these wires. I don't need all of these wires. I'm going to cut off, leave about 1 inch. And again, you know, if you can't get something or you're having a hard time, you know, as long as you're securing your stone, and it's not going to go anywhere, and I know my stone is moving right now, but that's fine. You know, just do a new plan of action. And I'm going to wrap up. And do I want to wrap it around that wire there? Yes. So I am just going to pull this wire out, take this wire, and bend it up underneath the stone there, and pull that, and then wrap this one also up underneath the stone, and pull that tight. So we're just, it's at least secured to the frame now. And then I don't need all of that. I'm going to cut off. And then just tuck these up against the stone so that there are no pokey outy ends. All right, so now I'm going to adjust where my stone is because it shifted. And that's fine. Oops. And I'm just tightening these up just a hair, just so they are not poking my stone. And my stone is a little lopsided. That's fine. I'm just going to pick this guy up, try to shift him over just a bit, and that's fine. That's fine. All right, so now we've got these wires. I'm going to straighten them out, and then we are going to do something down in here to go around the stone. Again, I know I've seen a lot of people, you know, post on some of the Facebook groups that I'm a part of for wire wrapping. And they're like, it's not perfect. It doesn't look perfect. It's wire wrapping. It's art. It's never going to be completely perfect. We're not machines. So as much as I try to get things as neat and pretty as possible, you know, I'm not going to lie. My jewelry, especially my wire wrapping, is not 100% perfect. I'm just not that good. So, all right. So I'm going to do some swirls, and I'm going to start out. I want this one to bend around, and I want him to kind of curve in around this. But instead of staying with my thing, I'm going to do another swirl, and I'm going to come down, and I'm going to come around this, and I'm just going to curve it there. So now I've got a single swirl, and I'm going to do that, I think, one more time with these two, except I'm not going to come around, I'm going to come inside. And instead of doing a full swirl, I'm just going to do an S, and then I'm going to come back. And it would help if I didn't twist my wires. So again, if that happens, straighten out, start over. I twisted them around each other, which I did not want to do. And I just smushed my other circle, but that's fine. Because that's going to get, we may need to attach that at some point. So let's do this. I'm going to stick this through there just to give it an attachment point instead of making my curl. And then I'll do the curl afterwards. So now we're curling around, and then I can come up and over in a minute. But I'm going to take these two, if I can keep them together in the same. And what I want to do is I want to curve them here like this and do a swirl. Get this guy out of the way. Keeping them together. Trying to keep them together. I don't like the bend on that guy. And trying to do a swirl, a small swirl there, just to fit in that hole, coming back up and around. And then we're going to come back behind this. And then I can come across the pendant and then do a swirl down there in my gap. And then take these two wires, stick them back behind, and then just attach them to the frame right there. So there is my bottom swirl. And then this guy that we have, I need something more on this side because this side's got a lot and the top has got a lot. So I think what I'm going to do is, now that I've come in, I'm going to come in and I'm going to do an S shape there. I'm going to curve it around. I'm going to go underneath this here. So I have an S, and I'm going to come up underneath here. Oh, wait, can't do that. It didn't wrap around. It needs to be there. I need to come in between there. There we go. And again, neatening up my wire as best I can. I'm going to curve him here. around on the outside, and I am going to pull this guy out a little bit here with my pliers, and then I'm just going to tuck him up underneath here if I can get him through. There we go. And I don't like that. I don't like that. I like this part here. So we're going to take that guy out. And this is where, again, this is where if you don't like something, take it out. Don't use it. You know, you want to add another element and what you're looking at isn't working for you, add another wire. Yeah, that's coming out. All right, we're going to cut this guy off, and I'm just going to attach him to my bail back here. I'm going to cut him down and just wrap him around the bail a couple of times. And trim him off and press him, and that's actually a little too long. So when I'm cutting off, I'm looking at this and thinking I just needed the width of my bail, and that's still a little too long. So what you're trying to do is I want to be able to fold this in and have it sit just about midpoint to my bail. So you need to make sure you have enough to wrap around the side and then wrap in about 50% of the way in. All right, I am going to get these cut off. We are going to use that other because I like this here, but there needs to be something here. I think I want to put something maybe coming from here or starting here and just wrapping over there. I don't know. I don't like I don't like things that are too asymmetrical. Although that stone isn't going anywhere anymore. All right. So I'm going to wrap these guys in. Get those tucked in nice and neatly. And see, this is also why I made my bail quite large. Because I'm using a lot of stuff on my... All right, and then these are going to get tucked in here around this base wire here. I'm just going to give those a little trim because then those can just tuck right in there. There's one. And there's number 2. And now I'm just going to, because I squished that, I'm just going to lift that up a little bit. All right, I like that. But again, this has got so much over here. I need something on this side. So I'm going to pause. I'm going to wrap this up. And I think what we're going to do is we are going to add another item. I may need a longer one than this. So I'm going to pause you. I will be right back. All right, guys. So I actually changed my mind while I was wire wrapping. I got an idea of using spacer beads. So I have these copper spacer beads, and so they're different sizes. They're like 4, 3, and 2 millimeter. And what I was thinking was it needs something to balance this side out, but I thought, well, maybe we could, and I don't know if that's going to be too many. That's probably going to be too many. So let's do 3 big beads, 1 medium and 1 little, and just see if that works. Just so it has some kind of an embellishment on this side. I started looking at it because I do have some previously wired. I always do these. If we did that, would that work there? Would that look good there? Yes, I think that would look good there. So what I'm going to do is, so I just strung this up on the 26 gauge wire. I'm going to stick this through here and then stick this down through here, which is where I'm going to want this to sit, just to see what that looks like. And I think I like that. I really like that because I think that balances it out. And now I'm just going to take this and I'm going to find a spot just to wrap it around a few times, just to secure those beads. And I think that's, come on, get in your home. That's 2. And 3, we'll do 1 more just to make sure it's nice and secure. Just so it doesn't go anywhere, doesn't slip, doesn't, come on. Oops, did I go? I did. So the one thing I didn't want to do, which I did, I thought I got through there, was I don't want to go around I want to go in between my weaves. And this is the problem. I can see it. It's just not wanting to go up. There we go. There's 2. And there's 3. Again, I didn't want to go around this. I just wanted to go around the wraps on the base wire. And then I'm going to do 3. I'm going to cut that off and just tuck in and feel, make sure there's no, and then I'm going to do the same thing here, which I can actually go around these wires here, and maybe we go up under this way. And then I can just tuck under there. That's 2. And 3. And then I'm going to leave a little bit of a tail on this one because I can then take this and just tuck that down underneath those 2 wires. All right, I like that. I think that looks good. I am going to do some adjusting here just to make sure that I have spacing, that this is lifted up, it's over my frame, that you can't see the back frame, and adjust. And again, you can adjust this, you know, adjust your curves, make sure your wires are tucked in, and I like this one. I'm really liking this one. So that is a, I'm wondering if I need a bead right there. Maybe to balance that off. What do you think, guys? Should we put a bead there to balance it off? I think we should. So I'm just going to take a big bead. And actually, I'm just going to bend it and pinch it. I'm just going to take my two, and I'm going to do one on one side of, and one on the other. So I'm coming, there's this wire right here, and I'm just coming on both sides of that wire. And I'm just going to pull that in. And honestly, I can just now twist around this base wire right here a couple of times. And so we'll do, again, using pliers sometimes makes it a little bit easier. And there's one. And I have a bunny that is looking at me for treats, and unfortunately I don't have any in here for her. There's two. And now we're going to do this. What is that? Oh, it didn't tighten. It's got to tighten. There we go. All right. There we go. That's perfect. And now this one's going to go this way. If we can get it around there. I'm running out of room, so that's where the more you do around the frame, the more you're going to start running out of room. And so I may just end up going around these wires here, which will also secure that swirl a little bit. Again, sometimes you have to just do your attachments where, and I just broke the wire, you have to do your attachments where you can. There. Yeah, I like that. I wanted that bead there. All right, so I'm going to call this one done because I could play with this for hours. So, not quite the same as this one, but again, I actually like this one better than this one now. Makes me want to play with this guy some more. But yeah, that is a framed cabochon with wire wrapping and wire weaving. So anyways, I hope you liked it. I'm going to probably play with this just a little bit more, making these things a little bit more rounder. Oof. And not banging up my wire like that. Curving it just a little bit. So I'm actually gonna go play with this, guys, for probably a hot minute here, just because there, it's a little bit better. Trying to get it to set in the frame. I'm gonna go play with this. And I may, there we go. There. Because I was just trying to get it to go into, there we go. That looks a little better. Anyways, I'm going to play with this some more, just kind of fidget with it, make sure everything looks good. Tighten down some weaves that got loose here. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something, or you found it enjoyable, and I will see you in the next one. So thanks for watching. All right, guys, real quick, while I was off camera, so this is going to be a post goodbye thing. I was manipulating my wires, and then I realized that this side just didn't, it was annoying me. So I added 3 of the medium size spacer beads there. So now it kind of looks like the beads flow, disappear, come out, and then, so now it to me, that's more uniform. I like that. I think this looks good. Anyways, I just wanted to show you what I added. You know, because you're going to see you'll see the thumbnail of this. And I really like this pendant. I think it's gorgeous. So anyways, let me know what you think in the comments, and I will see you in the next one.